Hey everyone, welcome to Smart Talk Radio. This is your host, Chris Zaffoid Karabats, and today I have with me Travin Keith, a SmartCash advisor. How you doing today, Travin?
Hi, doing well. Thanks, Chris, for having me on board.
Well, happy you could join us. We've known each other since I joined the project, but we haven't really spent that much time talking together, just to how our circles went. So
Yeah,
why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and explain how you got involved into SmartCash?
sure. So, I've been doing a lot of different projects. I mean, I still do that today. So that's why I'm in SmartCash. I'm just, doing advisory. No, it's actually quite funny. It was a solar miner, one of the developers for SmartCash, and one of these other guys. I forgot what his username was back then. He came over to the NXT Slack. So I was involved with NXT at the time. I'm not anymore, although I still follow what they're doing every now and then. And they said hey, you should join this new cryptocurrency community on Slack. We're starting it up, and I said yeah, okay, I'll check it out. And then I started talking with people. Juicy was one of them, again, solar miner. And I think there were a couple of people who are still around the community today who were also in that Slack. But that was quite a while ago. This was around 2016. Eventually, the crypto community, they're kind of I think the moderators didn't have an agreement on where things would like to go. So Juicy started this thing called Coin Chat Club, where I followed him, and we just started talking and about random stuff, both about crypto and not in crypto. And I guess we just had the same ideas about peer-to-peer digital cash and about how that was an important thing. He comes from being a key member of the Dash community, so a solar miner. So, we kind of agreed on that single part. With NXT and then subsequently Ardor, it's not very focused on digital cash. It's more on the other aspects about what the technology can be used for. So I said, this is not a bad thing to be involved in this as well. It's not competing thing, sorry. And eventually he just said hey, we're going to start this new cryptocurrency, and we were wondering if you'd like to be an advisor. And I said, hell yeah. So I've been around since before SmartCash was even SmartCash. I think I mined one of the first 75 blocks, somewhere between 70 and 75. I don't remember the exact number, but I was quite happy about that. And I think I mined a couple blocks after, but it's the first block that I'm solo mined. So I'm very, and I mined that in Svalbard in the Northland. So that's the unique aspect of it. So,
The Svalbard block.
Yeah, just been around SmartCast since then. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I've been happy to be here, and happy to still be here, and happy to see the team grow, see the community grow. You joining the team is one of, in my opinion, one of the best things that happened to SmartCash. So, and hoping to have more people like you joining on board.
Absolutely, I'd love to get some more people eager and willing to dive in, and both philosophically and economically aligned.
Yes, absolutely.
What's your background in crypto? How did you first get started in crypto and this whole amazing sector we're working in?
So back in 2011, I was working in tech support at the time, and my colleague and friend told me, "Hey Travin, you're in business and you like tech. You're purely self-taught. I'm just self-taught with tech. I was one of the few it was in my university. I was one of the few non-CSD students who was actually doing tech support. And hey, you should take a look at this thing called Bitcoin." And I said, "What's that?" And he says, "Oh, it's this online currency." And I said, where can I use it? "Oh, this thing called Silk Road." I was living in the States at the time, and I'm not American. I was trying to immigrate there, and I was like, I do not want to touch that. I remember looking over his shoulder and seeing the price, $3. 2 years later, I was quite happy. I just got published at a web marketing journal. It's called Search Engine Journal. And then I go on yahoo.com, and then I see Bitcoin hits $1,000. And the first thing I do is my hand shaking, grab my phone, try to call my colleague. And it's like, what the hell? Why didn't you tell me it's actually something? And so I just kept looking into it. And, back then in 2013, there weren't a lot of resources available about Bitcoin. I would ask them, what gives Bitcoin value? And then somebody would just go on a tangent and tell me why gold has a value. And I was like, you're not answering my question.
Yeah.
And, I would ask it again, and somebody else would tell me like, okay, this is how blockchain works. That's not it. So I just had to dig into it. I read the white paper. I mean, I'm not a developer, so I had to look into the code without that background. So I had to ask people every now and then, oh, what does this do? And, it was fun learning about cryptography. I never learned about SHA-256. So a bunch of these other stuff. So it was a rabbit hole, essentially. And so I just spent my time in it. I took a hiatus in 2014 at time close to the bear market, yes, but it was also because of other reasons. I wasn't able to immigrate to the US. So a bunch of personal stuff. And then I came back when I was in Svalbard because I was looking for a career change. I was working in marketing. So that's how I kind of, got in. And that's why I'm also an advisor for the Outreach Hive, because that's just where it makes the most sense at the moment. So my background in crypto is really mostly just self-taught. Like, I mean, on the business side, I have a bachelor's degree and stuff like that. And some experiences also along the way. I mean, I've lived in 7 countries. I lived in a country that was a dictatorship. So that was interesting. That country was Fiji, though. So of all the dictatorship countries, that was one of the better ones. And,
Yeah.
But you can still feel certain aspects of it. And, that's one of the things that drove me to the peer-to-peer digital cash sites. Like, it was very difficult to transact with companies in Fiji, no matter how honest they were, no matter, if it was somebody getting hired by another company. PayPal wouldn't allow that money to be sent. Western Union, MoneyGram, they didn't send money to Fiji. Well, MoneyGram did, but they charged a lot, like ridiculous huge fee, because they don't want to deal with the country as a dictatorship. But it's like, you're restricting the freedom of an individual in that country just because their government does not, do what the other governments want. So it was quite unfortunate in that, but so I get experiences from that. Also, like stuff that I've learned from talking to a lot of people, you included. You have the patience of a saint when dealing with the community members. That's certainly something I do not have. I had it before, but I've lost it since.
So having kids makes a lot of the community members seem pretty mild, but at the same time, I just have to think, all right, I just have to treat them as if I'm answering a question from my 4-year-old. That's fine. That works pretty well.
That's a very good approach. Yeah, but so it's the nice thing I really like about the community is that you learn a lot. I mean, not just within the SmartCash, but crypto community as a whole. I mean, that's the reason why I joined the chat groups that Juicy invited me to a long time ago. Coin Chat Club with Solar Miners. So just sharing this information and learning from each other, and again, by being self-taught, you have to be open to learning from other people all the time. Whether you reject their information or not is up to you, of course, but it's always nice to just get that sample size out there.
Absolutely. You have to know what other people are thinking and what they're doing. You can't just go, well, I'm right, everybody else is wrong, I don't need to pay any attention to anybody else. That's you can't grow up that way. So it's good. I mean, that is important. That I feel a lot of people do end up not doing that because they aren't self-taught. They learned through the university system or whatever, and they're just, well, this is the truth, I'm just going to go from here. So that's a good attitude to have. I'm happy you have that.
I mean, it's helped me a lot. So like I said, I started with marketing, and that's how I got involved at the beginning, and still with SmartCash. But ever since then, I've actually moved to doing technical architecture using blockchain technology. So I mean, something a lot of people don't know. I went all the way as far as to like co-authoring the white paper of Hyperledger, and then participating in a blockchain project for the European Union as a developer, despite not really being a developer. I mean, I still don't consider myself that, but apparently I was technical enough to take that role. So it was something that was completely surprising to me. So it's like a complete shift, from marketing all the way to that. And yes, all of that is from, self-education and from the support from people around me. So it was pretty, I move back and forth still. It's hard for me to be happy with one thing. I get bored really easily. So
I do understand that. It's important to have some variety in life. And just definitely explore a lot of things out there, because you never know. I mean, you never know what's going to be important or useful in the future. So
absolutely,
as much as you can.
Yeah, and it's fun.
Yeah, you talked a bit about how you're attracted to SmartCash because of the peer-to-peer digital cash thing, at least partially because of your experience in Fiji. Could you expand on that a bit?
Yeah. So I'm an individualist. So I don't like imposing things on other people. But one thing I'd like people to have the freedom of choice. Being able to choose whether they would like to be controlled by somebody else or not. If they consciously say like, no, I want you to make this decision for me, that's okay. You've delegated it. I delegate it when I go to a restaurant and get somebody else to cook instead of me. Yeah, I've delegated that to them. But one of the really different things about human beings compared to animals is that we can have this thing called commerce, that we can trade one thing. I mean, I know other animals kind of have something like it sometimes every now and then, but not nowhere near the scale that we have as human beings. And so for me, that's a very important part of being human, is being able to transact with each other. During the days of cash, of gold, or basic bartering, that was not a problem. People could barter with each other, not having somebody say, yes, no, you can't do that. Like, maybe to some degree there were some controls, like, no, I want that money, I'm going to take that from you. Okay. But I feel that key part is being taken away from us. Cash can still be used, of course, but it's slowly being removed from the system. I was just reading a discussion some time ago, like somebody encourage people to report places that only accepted cash because they immediately assumed that they were doing tax evasion. And that's a ridiculous assumption to make.
Yeah.
I think they were like selling ice cream or something. What? I wouldn't expect the ice cream man to like have a credit card machine all the time. It's like, no, I'm paying for a $1 ice cream. I'm going to give them a dollar bill. Mm-hmm. Again, because that's such an important part. When we become more reliant on the internet, and that's just going to happen. We're just going to be more and more reliant on technology and being connected worldwide. And if you're not, you're going to be left behind, unfortunately, or you're not going to have certain options that other people have. And so in some way, your freedom gets a little bit, restricted. Again, if you choose to be a hermit, that's fine. So not having that freedom of being able to say, hey, I want to hire you to do this. You can send me your work online. I'll pay you online. When they send me their work, it's mostly, not being checked. Maybe there's a virus check on the email, but there's different other methods we can use. But when I want to pay them, and this happened to somebody that I hired in Fiji after I left. I left about a month before the dictatorship ended, when the then dictator became the prime minister. Different topic. Hi, Frank, if you're watching. I couldn't send them the money. PayPal wouldn't allow that. I couldn't send it with a bank account. I sent it through MoneyGram eventually, which cost me, about 20% in fees just to send that amount. And it was ridiculous. But they did the work, and I was like, I have to pay you.
Yeah.
I feel bad. They were also my friend. I'm like, I'm not gonna leave them behind. And they were an honest worker. It's not like I hired them to do photography. I wasn't hiring them to do some random stuff. No, I just needed photos of Fiji for a website that I was building for a company again in Fiji. And so this person wasn't able to do a lot of the work. I paid him, but other companies couldn't hire him that well because of all of these restrictions. And he was being restricted by his government, by the actions of his government. Despite the fact that I'm removed from it, he's technically kind of removed from it, although, yeah, okay, fine, he's a citizen of that country. And so for me, just, having a better ecosystem and giving people more freedom, having the option of this peer-to-peer digital cash, which, if SmartCash was around during that time, well, Bitcoin was around during that time, but it was still quite early, and the fluctuations were quite a lot. I mean, still a lot now, but anyway, it's just a decision between me and him. If he would have accepted Bitcoin or SmartCash or whatever cryptocurrency, and he said yes, then I send it to him. That's it. The decision is between me and him, not between me, a third party, and him. So yeah. That's why I love peer-to-peer digital cash, and I think it's your requirement for a decentralized ecosystem. Mm-hmm. That's really the only way for it.
It's not just a requirement for decentralized ecosystems, really a requirement for freedom, because as
Yes.
you said, you couldn't send money to this person because, I mean, yeah, there's a dictator. He wasn't necessarily getting in your way, but his actions have made other companies not want to deal with that country. So having
Yeah.
tools that let you send directly to him,
Yeah.
vital for him to, actually make money, perform his occupation, perform his trade, and make a
Yeah.
living.
Exactly.
And that's, a great example, internationally of why peer-to-peer digital cash is important, and why a cryptocurrency like SmartCash is so necessary and important there.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's this book that I was reading a while back. It's titled A Dictator's Handbook, but it's not about how to become a dictator. But it went over the different dictatorships around the world. And one that was, one point that he had that was really interesting. I forgot the author's name, so sorry about that. But um, to be a dictator, you have to control the money flow. That's just a requirement. If you do not control the money flow, there's absolutely no way you can be a dictator. There's no way even, and this is a very crucial point that he made in the book, that there's no way to have a proper government if you can't control the money. So, and he brought up a lot of different examples about how it's actually kind of there. Like, okay, maybe in democracies it's much less evident or much less of a factor percentage-wise, but it's always going to be there. And so if you think about it, if you have a peer-to-peer digital cash across the world, it becomes much harder to have that aspect control. And so it's much harder for dictatorships to be imposed on people. Like, yes, okay, they might still control most of the coins, fine. But then at least the coins that you have are really your own. They can't stop you from doing that. Mm-hmm. So again, that's another aspect of why peer-to-peer digital cash for me is absolutely important.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Like, even in a republic like the United States, how the control of money is vital. Mm-hmm. If you look back at history, the first revolution, or rebellion rather, after the revolution in America was the Whiskey Rebellion, and that was in Pennsylvania, when the currency between a lot of the farms there was actually whiskey, because whiskey in a barrel was relatively easy to transport. You could portion it out into smaller forms. It didn't go bad. I mean, whiskey aged in a barrel just gets better. And they were using essentially this whiskey as a currency, and then they were protesting a federal tax on the whiskey. And even back then, even though America was arguably pretty free at that point, mm-hmm. With some few notable exceptions, even then, the issue, the very first issue that was rebelled over was money. And yeah. It's interesting. And then, of course, you go to whoever that senator was a couple of weeks ago in the United States, who said that we should ban Bitcoin and cryptocurrency because it makes it harder for Americans to control the world with the US dollar.
I mean, that was just like the best endorsement that I've ever heard of for Bitcoin from a government official. Like, that was mm-hmm. wonderful.
I swear, it's like somebody explained it to him, and then he just went and told everybody else, and the guy's like, no, we're not actually supposed to say that in the public. I loved it. It was so great.
No, that's true. It's exactly. Yeah, you can control people by controlling the flow of money. If you can't let your, citizens of your country, or if your dictatorship, move their money around, it makes it harder for them to also run away. I mean, if you can't move your assets, it's either, okay, you stay in the country and be ruled by an iron fist, or lose everything, but then you get to run away with nothing on your back.
And exactly right. I mean, that's what we see with so many, the refugees around the world, is you can't take any of your money with you. You can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, one of the first ledger systems actually in the world was in the Middle Ages, mm-hmm. with the church, and they actually kept a ledger for pilgrims, because the pilgrims would leave most of their stuff behind and get a credit on a ledger with the church, because they couldn't carry stuff with them to the Middle East because they would inevitably be robbed and whatever. So when they got there, they still had these funds, this balance on the ledger that they could use and draw on once mm-hmm. they were at their destination. And that was the general idea, is you need a safe way to move without having your money taken from you. And that's really why paper money was first invented because we as humanity got so productive that the average person couldn't really carry their wealth on them in the form of gold. Just physically, it wouldn't work. So we paper money. And crypto is really just the next extension of this. I mean, if you have true peer-to-peer crypto, then you have the ability to go anywhere in the world, not worry too much about having your crypto taken from you, so long as you take reasonable precautions, and be able to send to anybody anywhere without the government or wherever you're at getting in your way of doing so.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the ideal.
Yeah, it connects the world a little bit better. I'm not saying that yet. It definitely doesn't solve all the problems about, worldwide connections in terms of economics and stuff like that. That's another problem. But it's an essential part. It's essential part. Of making things better for everybody.
And that's an important point, I think. In that, no, we're not saying that cryptocurrency. We're not saying that SmartCash solves the world's problems. That's not the point here. I mean, the current money system obviously doesn't solve the world's problems. Why would you expect some new money to come along and solve everything? No, it's an incremental improvement in humanity and our quality of life, and our ability to exchange with each other monetarily increases our ability to exchange with each other in ideas and with everything. I mean, so long as I'm trading effectively with you, or my country is trading effectively with your country, or my region with your region, we're much less likely to go to war. The simple fact is, if it's profitable for you to keep trading with me, and it's profitable for me to keep trading with you, and good peer-to-peer currency makes that easier, puts less friction in that transaction, which makes it easier for that to be profitable, then why would I want to shoot you? You're making me money.
And it's working in some parts of the world right now. So I mean, fine, there's like wars here and there, but overall it's relatively peaceful compared to how it was before. I mean, me traveling around, moving different places, like, yeah, I'm sure if I probably by now I've been dead if I was doing what I'm doing now, but like 100 years ago, I would be surprised if I was allowed to be alive. But then also it's like, yeah, even if the countries go to war against each other, does it mean that the people in those countries end up, having to suffer because of that? They can still continue having trade with each other. Like, okay, they might, when it's physical goods, there might be some problems, but at least the digital goods are fine. Services that are being rendered cross-border, it's still okay. One of the problems with embargoes is that, I might not necessarily agree with the reason why an embargo is being placed. And I would still like to do business with businesses or individuals in that country, whether, hiring them or they're hiring me. That's an issue between both of us, not an issue between, do I like, is their government okay or not? And the nice part is, I still have the freedom to say, you know what, I agree with the embargo. I'm going to not deal with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you still have that choice. The whole reason to have an embargo or something is that we can't trust that people will agree with us. So we have to force them to do it. And the removal of that force is the whole point. We want, there should be no force involved when I want to pay you or you want to pay me. There's no force needed there, which is great.
Yeah. So yeah, it's fantastic. And then they're also, instead of forcing, they have to just give the information as to here's why you shouldn't deal with businesses there, and then if it's convincing enough, then it's great.
Yeah. 99% of the time they're full of shit, but they might be convincing once in a while.
There's always that 1%. So I'll give the benefit of the doubt there.
Yeah. Speaking of stuff like that, getting more and more back out of this rabbit trail we're on, which is a fun conversation. Regards to SmartCash, and you're part of the outreach hive, you're part of advising what we're doing here. What are you most excited about SmartCash right now? What are you doing right now that makes you the most excited?
There's amazing growth of adoption. I mean, it's something that it still surprises me. Like, I mean, especially with Outreach Hive 2, Enrique is doing a fantastic job in South America. It excites me that, you can use SmartCash to pay for an Uber ride in Brazil. You can even use it in the Google Play Store. I mean, with the Smart Band itself, that was really cool. I think there was a video with some DJ who was able to buy like sunglasses using them quite easily in the store. I used my smart card to buy a barrel of vodka in Austria. It was a small barrel. It was like this big. It's
Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
less than, I think, like just half a liter of vodka, but that was still pretty cool. And I think that's something that's been lost in a lot of the crypto space. I mean, a lot of people are getting excited about the utility aspects of the technology, which it's okay. But for me, again, peer-to-peer digital cash, that's one thing that I was that I found really important, and I still do. And it's cool if I can engage with the community member here and there, use SmartCash to pay them. I've done that a couple of times for some work to be done, whether graphic design or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But for most people, they want to know if can I use this outside? Can I use this at any store? And for a lot of cryptocurrencies, the answer is no. But for SmartCash, that's it's still like mainly no, but that's changing. And that's what excites me, is that it's changing. It's like more and more merchants are signing up. I mean, yes, I know that, especially it's because I made a tweet a while ago complaining about this, but yes, I know that there's a payment processor in between there, but it's just a step. It's a necessary step to get these businesses more comfortable with it. I mean, you don't dump a baby into the water. It's like you get your baby, as sure as your parent, if you want to teach them how to swim, you have to swim with them. You have to like hold their hand and, make sure that they don't drown. I'm hoping that sometime in the future, like, Uber would even say like, okay, we still have to convert most of the smart into fiat currency, but tell you what, we'll hold 1% of it in SmartCash. Like if they can say that, that would just be, it's just 1%, right? So it's like, it'll be fantastic if they can say that. And I'm hoping that's what's going to happen. And right now I see that that's what it's going to happen in the future. Not necessarily with Uber, but with restaurants and stores doing that. I mean, with me, when I get paid in SmartCash or any other cryptocurrency, I try to hold at least a percentage of it, because I want the people paying me in it to know that it was better to pay me directly in cryptocurrencies than it was to sell that cryptocurrency and pay me in fiat. Mm-hmm. That's my own personal choice. I understand that might not necessarily always be the most financially sound decision, but that's just what I affiliate with, and that's what I want to do to try to push this thing even further. And I'm hopefully that businesses will find it to be actually a profitable decision to do that, whether because of the PR that they gain by saying like, we actually do stand with cryptocurrency, and by standing with it, we don't mean that we receive it and sell all of it immediately for another currency that we actually like. So, that's what excites me the most about SmartCash, and communities keeps growing, and, maybe not necessarily the price grows up, but that's just secondary to me. Primary thing is peer-to-peer digital cash. So,
yeah, absolutely. That's one of the goals with things like the smart band and other integrations like that is, the merchant doesn't necessarily receive crypto because they that's not something they care about. There's two sides of the goal here. There's the one side of making it easy for users to use it, and then the other side of making it easy for merchants to receive it. And we're trying to approach things from both sides. And the goal long term is that the merchants are going to go, well, all these people are using SmartCash, and then there's the extra fees that go along with it being a credit card processor. Why don't I just cut that out, and why don't I just accept the SmartCash directly, and then save that 3 to 5% that I'm paying for the processing and whatnot? So, the goal long term is, if you increase the demand for places to accept it by making it easier for people to actually use it, and then making it obvious to the merchant, what's happening there, then you can actually encourage them. It'll make sense for them to actually accept SmartCash directly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I understand that a lot of merchants, maybe now they understand that accepting, SmartCash might not be the best financial decision for them to make because they have a lot of expenses. I understand that. But that's the nice thing about it also, is that the more merchants that we have on board, and more users overall, you might have, and it'll set the stage for a full ecosystem where, let's say a restaurant, a customer at the restaurant pays in SmartCash. And the restaurant is a bit more comfortable in accepting SmartCash now because they know that they can pay their suppliers and their employees in SmartCash. Their employees are fine with it because they can pay all of their expenses with it, and the suppliers are happy with it too because they can pay their expenses with it. So, yeah, exactly. Having this, working towards this goal, and which is what SmartCash is doing today, and it's getting better and better. I mean, the Uber things, like then you can tell your employees, hey, you can pay your ride to get here, or your fun ride over the weekend using this coin that I'm going to give you called SmartCash. So exactly, like building that ecosystem is very vital, and I don't see many other projects trying to do that right now.
I agree completely. That's also what attracted me to SmartCash is the focus on usability in the full ecosystem. Because that, as you just said, that is very important to get people to accept it. You want to make it as easy for them to use it too. And it's easy for them to use if it's easy for their employees and their merchants and whoever to use it as well. And that's exactly what we're going for here. And that's what we want to have happen, is to have everybody be able to use SmartCash everywhere. And the more you can use it, the more you're willing to accept it, the more you're not going to get rid of it right away because you can use it soon. And that's just building on itself. And that's why we're about the adoption. We're not about speculation or whatever these other people are about. We're about actually using it. And on a wider level, all this other stuff, I don't think we'll really get anywhere until cryptocurrency is an actual currency. All this other stuff is being built on the assumption that it's used as a medium of exchange. But if that doesn't happen, then the rest of this just falls apart.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an essential part. I mean, it's why, when Bitcoin was created, it says peer-to-peer digital cash on there. And if some people say Lightning is the way to go with theirs, it's like I can respect that when they say that, but it's just like, the problem that I have is when people say, no, I think that people should only make 2 transactions in their entire lives, to buy the Bitcoin and to sell it.
No, that's not what it is. Yeah,
that's not what this is about. Exactly. Yeah. Like if you choose to hold, SmartCash also, if you choose to hold your SmartCash because you didn't find anything worth buying, okay, that's your choice. But that's because you had the intention to spend, but you just didn't find anything you want to buy. That's okay. But saying and telling people that it's bad to spend your cryptocurrencies, like, take an example, like with Laszlo, when he spent 10,000 Bitcoin for pizza. A lot of people, joke about it. It's like, oh, look at this idiot. It's like, no, that guy kickstarted it. That guy made the Bitcoin community at the time see that, hey, I actually use the coins that we used our computers to make to get pizza for me and my family.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. And, the nice thing is he doesn't actually regret any of that. And he's actually quite proud of it. That's why he was on, I didn't watch the video that he was on recently, but at least the last interaction that somebody I knew had with him, he said that, yeah, he was quite happy about it and does not regret a single thing. I don't regret the things that I've spent my SmartCash on. The barrel of vodka, I still haven't drank it, but I'm sure it's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's you can't regret that, and that's exactly right. And as far as I can tell, I agree. He doesn't regret it either. I think the last show he was on, the 60 Minutes, States here, and he's fine with it. Sure, yeah. I mean, yeah, if he had held on to it, but then nobody would have bought anything with it, and then it never would have been worth anything, because how could it be? Until it's actually used as for real world goods and services, there's no use for it. There's no valuation of it. And that's a vital part of any of these processes, and that's something SmartCash is going through, just working through the process of valuation and making sure people can use it. And then over time, as more and more people use it, more and more people will hold on to it to use, and that's how a currency has value, is through usage.
Absolutely. I mean, having the speculative value, it's always going to be there. Like we have that even today with fiat currencies. Like people speculate on the British pound about how a Brexit will turn out. Like that's something that's just not, it's unavoidable. That's fine. But it's very important to increase the utility value percentage of the overall value of a currency. And, yes, okay, maybe in the short term or maybe even the medium term, telling people to buy something and the only value that you'll tell them about it is that the price will go up. Okay, that might make you more financially wealthy. again, in the medium term and maybe long term, depending on how long you can run that line before somebody starts asking questions. There's a certain word called Ponzi, which I'm sure you're
Yes.
familiar with. Like, before somebody makes that accusation, and instead, if you're able to tell people, like, yeah, there's the speculative value, of course, that it could go up, but hey, even if it stays at exactly the same price, we can go to the store nearby and buy some bread, some food,
Mm-hmm.
something that gives us sustenance and stuff like that. So, in the long term, that's the main question that skeptics will ask, like, why does it have value? Why should I care about it? And it's because, like, yeah, because you can use it. It's not just a number on your screen.
Exactly, and that the whole concept of needing to speculate, again, as you said, it will happen. I mean, the current forex markets do like $6 trillion of speculation every day. I mean, it's one of the largest things that's ongoing. And then you also have the fact that it's massively manipulated by the giant firms out there too. But that's that's just going to happen. The point is they speculate on the fact that it is used. It's not used because it's speculated on. So we're focused on the usage part, and what comes will come speculation wise, but that's not the primary goal here. The primary goal is usage.
Right, exactly. Like the example I brought up with the British pound, they're speculating on it, but they're speculating on whether it would be in demand from the world to use when buying British products, because when you buy British products, you have to spend in British pounds.
Yes.
So exactly. You're speculating on the use of it, not because I think it'll go up tomorrow by 25%.
Exactly. And it was interesting. I was recently at an event in New York where I was on a panel on payment systems and adoption, and I was able to talk about SmartCash there. And the panel ended up going about 40 minutes over time because everybody just kept asking me questions, primarily about Brazil, but also just about how adoption was actually working, what people were actually doing with it. Because again, that's the whole point of this. That's what, when you get back to the purpose of cryptocurrency, that is its purpose. That's what it's here for. We're not here to solve world hunger. We're not here to build all your roads. These are both actually things people brought up during the discussion. But we're here to make it easier to exchange because, we're freedom-oriented people who believe that the easier it is to exchange value, it makes everything else in your life easier, which then puts less overhead on every production you're doing, which then, I mean, honestly, yes, makes it easier to feed the world because easier for everybody to do what they need to do every day. And that's what we're about here at SmartCash, is making, as I always say, we're fast, we're easy, and we're cheap transactions. That's the whole point of what we're doing here. We're not about building the next world computer. We're about fast, easy, and cheap transactions.
Yeah, being pragmatic about it. Like, I hear a lot of developments, especially when I'm in Switzerland and I attend a lot of events, and it's cool. I hear a lot of people talk about their technical developments. And for what they're trying to do, some of it's absolutely essential. And that's one criticism that I get sometimes when I talk to them about SmartCash. They say, like, okay, like, what's did you come up with something new? I think there was something called Schnorr signatures. I don't know anything about that, to be honest. I want to look up on it because it's kind of interesting, but I just tell them, like, that's not the key issue at the moment. The key issue is that, can people spend it somewhere? That's the main problem. And okay, we can build stuff. Solar Miner, for example, does a fantastic job developing SmartCash, and so does the entire Dev Hive. And their work is definitely important. But when people ask me, like, why aren't they building something new? Why aren't they coming up with this new cool thing to add to SmartCash that is only on SmartCash and not everywhere else? Well, I think it's one thing that I would like to see first with SmartCash that maybe other coins don't have is that, hey, I can spend this here and there. You can't say that about that other coin. So it's all about figuring out where the main pain points are and going for those low-hanging fruits, of course. So yeah, that's another reason why I like this project, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah, that is the goal here. So. Okay, I think we've probably talked enough here. Anything else you want to say to the audience before we go?
Just want to say hello. I don't show up to the community so much on Discord. But I'm around every now and then, and I just want to say thanks to everyone who's joined the SmartCash community. And if you see me at an event, I go and speak to at a bunch of different events. Just come up to me, say hi.
Mm-hmm.
I usually have some candies or snacks with me, so just say the word SmartCash to me at any event, and I'll give you like a candy or something.
There you go. And do you have an event coming up people can find you at?
Yes, actually on the 30th, sorry, the 30th and 31st, I'm going to be in Essen in Germany. It's an event called Blockchain Hotel. I'll actually be talking there about the benefits of a decentralized ecosystem, and one part of that is the importance of peer-to-peer digital cash, and that's just because it's the framework for everything else that could be built on top of that. So yeah, if you're going to that event, let me know. And if you're around that area and want to go to the event but don't like the ticket price, let me know. I have some discount codes so I can give it to you.
Excellent. Sounds good. All right, Travin. Well, thank you very much. And we'll sign off here. This has been Chris Karabats and Travin Keith with Smart Talk Radio. Have a good day.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Good day.
Thank you for coming.